It's Monday, the 30th of April, 7:08 in the morning. I'm going to completely transform this hallway in the next 24 hours straight. You're probably wondering why I decided to do this. And the answer is simple. Why do people run marathons? Or strap themselves to a giant rocket to travel to space? Why do people push themselves? Well, I'm doing it to test my limits, to see what I can do. Find that sense of achievement and of course to create the best content that I can at this point in time. But you might be thinking, oh, this is nothing, it's a tiny room, there's nothing to do, you're gonna be done in 8 hours. Well, not so fast. So here's what we have to do. First of all, we have to remove everything from the walls. First, I need to get rid of the coat racks. I have one right here and one over here. Second, I need to get rid of the shoe storage right over here. On this side there's a couple of shelves that need removing as well. Once we have done that, we are going to panel. We are going to turn this room into a mix between mudroom and hallway, which means we are doing tall and groove paneling, which is tall. And this room is a little bit deceiving. It's not quite as small as it might seem. There's loads of corners, there's loads of difficult places like the switch over here, like this radiator, like this box, like the doors, and a few other bits and pieces. And the perimeter here, it's actually very similar to the kitchen that I did a few weeks ago. And that took me 2 days just to get to a primed paneling. But on top of paneling, we are going to do a two-tone paint in this room. And once we finish that, we are going to assemble all the stuff that's currently in these Amazon boxes, things like shelves and benches and other bits and pieces, to completely change the character of this room. And yes, once I hit that button, there's no going back. So let's do it together. No time to lose. Let's go. First, I'm removing the shoe storage, which I spent a lot of time securing onto the wall just a few months ago, but the truth is, I've always hated it and I'm glad I can finally get rid of it. Once I've done that, I'm removing the mirrors from the wall and the hooks they used to hang on. Don't worry, these mirrors will be making a comeback, at least some of them. Next are the two gold colored shelves, and this will have to find a place somewhere else in the house. Underneath the shelves, I have a few coat hooks for little people, but this will be replaced too. Not the easiest thing in the world to remove, but I got there eventually. Finally, the two coat hangers are also off, and needless to say, this won't work with the new style of this hallway. The space is now nice and clear. The first thing I want to do before starting gluing paneling on the walls is clear the space just above the skirting boards. There's caulking on it, there's dry paint, and I want to clean all of that so the paneling sits nice and flush on the skirting board. I'm using my normal knife and a filling knife to cut the caulk above the skirting board. On occasion, I'm able to just pull large pieces of caulk at once, which makes things a lot faster, but most of the time I have to carve it out piece by piece. Off to a suboptimal start already. I've damaged the skirting board over here and over here in my efforts to remove the caulking from above. Hey ho, I think I should be able to fix that as I go later on. Now over on the other side of the room, using the same technique, but this time being more careful not to damage the skirting boards anymore. It's not the easiest thing in the world, as the knife slips all the time and the MDF is really not a durable material. While at it, and to have a much better access to that wall, I've placed the radiator on a little chair and I've removed its brackets. Now I just need to finish removing the caulk and do a little bit of a cleanup in the room. I think I'm ready to start paneling. Let's check how much time is left. About 22 hours and 40 minutes left. It's already been an hour, over an hour actually. Wow, and the only thing I've done so far is remove everything, clean the skirting boards, nothing else, literally. A few bits and pieces behind the scenes, but that wasn't interesting to film. However, they still take time. So I think now I'm ready to panel. And the first corner I'm gonna do is this one over here. And the reason, because I'm trying to be a little bit smarter with how I use my tools. I can't be using my table saw during night hours because that's gonna be a nightmare for my neighbors. It makes a hell of a lot of noise. So what I'm gonna do first is do this external corner and that external corner, because I'm definitely going to need my table saw for those two. And then we're gonna move on to the other side to continue with the paneling. First things first, I'm going to add the panel over on this side near the door, and there's already a problem which I'm gonna show you in a moment. And the problem is this door chain over here, because as you can see, it's going to prevent the paneling from going in flush against the door frame. Now, I'm not entirely sure how to solve this problem. I don't want to cut the paneling to allow for this space. That feels a bit stupid. On the other hand, it doesn't feel like there's enough space to move this to the right a little bit, because the door frame is quite thin. I don't think I will be able to slot the paneling in and move this maybe half a centimeter to the right, because I don't think there's enough space. But what I'm gonna do now, I think, is just remove it. We'll get on with the paneling and we can solve this problem later on. That was nice and easy. One thing I might do is simply reinstall it on this side, on the paneling, but I think we'll get on with the paneling first before I make that decision. For now, I wanna clean the caulking on the door just so the paneling goes flush against it. And let me just see how tall this actually is. So this comes all the way up to here. That's great. So I know how far I should clean the caulking off the door. And there we go. I would like not to remove more than I need to, because then I'll have to fix that too. Let's see how precise I can be. Okay, that's not bad at all actually. So I'm gonna do the same all the way down and then on the other side of the door as well. And then I think we're gonna be ready to install our first panel in the hallway. I know, I was also super eager to start paneling at this point, but hey, prep is everything. So I'm removing the caulk from both sides of the door up to the height of my paneling, so I can push the panels against the door frame as much as possible. I think I'm ready to begin paneling, and I already have a bit of an issue. Look, I put these two panels together just temporarily, and if you place them over here, this leaves no space whatsoever to create an external corner, because the second panel ends just a millimeter inside the corner, and obviously what you need is a little bit more so you can cut an external corner over here. So what I think I'm gonna do, I was gonna cut the tongue of this first panel anyway, but instead of doing that, what I think I'm gonna do is cut it in half, so that will create essentially space for a third panel that's gonna go in here, and I can form an external corner on that third panel, which is gonna be about half of the width of a normal panel, but we need a tiny bit more, obviously, to create that external corner. So let's go outside to the table saw, take this one with us, and I'm gonna cut it in half. At this point, I wish I could give you the ASMR sound experience of my table saw, but unfortunately my mics are only able to pick up a ton of racket. So best I can do is tell you that it sounds gloriously loud, and I'm sure my neighbors hate me. Okay, so this one goes inside. That's great. And this one is going to be inside the first one. Let's go. Come on, get in. Yeah, tongue is in, good. And that leaves us plenty of space for the third piece to do the external corner. This is the other half of the first one I just cut. It wouldn't make sense to me if this would be enough, so I don't think this will. No, this is not going to be enough for it, so I need another piece. I need one more over here, and I just need to cut that carefully at a 45 degrees angle. Like that, perfect. So I just need a 45 degree angle from this point outward. So let's go out, cut this piece as well, and then I think we'll come back and do the same kind of thing on the other side of the wall before I glue anything. Back outside, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but my saw is tilted at 45 degrees to help me make the one side of that external corner. Okay, I'm back with my new external corner, and I've put these pieces together. I've tried it already very quickly. I think it's gonna be absolutely fine. Not sure if you can tell on the camera, but this is the external corner. Now over on this side of the same corner, I have the same problem that I had over here. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces together. They're not glued on anything. I just put them like this to see what's gonna happen. And what's happening is I have a tiny little sliver here, which I'm not gonna be able to cut. So what I'm gonna do instead is cut this one in half as well, and that should give me enough space to work with over on this side. So I'm gonna go do that now, and I'll be back in a second. And I'm back. I've cut this first piece, as I said, half, and then this one is an external corner. Now I think I should be able to work with this. I'm not 100% sure, but I think if I space them out a bit, I should be fine. It's not my best cut, definitely not. But I think if I just space them out a bit, caulk over here a little bit, and with a bit of magic, I should be fine. I don't have time to get everything again and again to make it absolutely perfect. I only have 24 hours and it's already 10 a.m. So I've been at it for nearly 3 hours now, and we haven't even paneled anything yet. See, everything takes a long time. I think I'm gonna be able to work with that. There's a slight gap over the top, but at the top there's gonna be molding, so that's gonna be covered anyway. I'm not worried too much. Right, let's go. Right, I'm going to add adhesive. Let's put some adhesive on the back. This is the first piece that's gonna go in here onto the door. This is a slightly different one from what I've used before, but it was a lot cheaper, to be honest. So far it seems absolutely fine. And the first one goes on the wall. Let's add adhesive onto the second one too. Second one in. I'm not gonna set it in place just yet, not entirely anyway, because I still need to do this external corner, and all of these are gonna move one way or another to help me get this corner right. So let's put some adhesive on the first piece of this corner, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Meet here, adjust everything, boom, everything perfect in theory. We'll see how it goes in practice.
A few moments later.
Everything is glued, this side, that side. The only remaining piece is this, which is our second part of this external corner. Let's approach carefully, see if we can make this happen. Yeah, in places it's quite perfect. Like here is perfect. Here there's a gap, and I think I can use a couple of nails to close the gap. So let's do that. I think we need to stabilize this too before I move around everything else. Come closer. Yeah, good. That's good. Remember, there's gonna be molding here, so this is gonna be covered quite well. I don't mind that gap that much. That's good. All right, that's not bad. I'll need to add adhesive. And I think with a little bit of paint, it's gonna be perfect. So let's work on the pieces inside. Let me see if the gaps are quite fine. Yeah, the gaps are not bad, to be honest. Like this one is fine. There's barely a gap between that piece and the door. I might just try to move it a little bit at the bottom. And then over on this side, this gap is absolutely fine. Like there's gonna be another piece here anyway to cover that gap, so it doesn't matter. Gaps between panels also very good. Yeah, there's nothing really to worry about. I think all I need to do is put some adhesive in this space just between the corners, and overall once I sand it and paint it, that's gonna be absolutely fine. Okay, let's do it. Using the most high-tech tool available, my finger, I work through that small gap to fill it with adhesive. This doesn't just work from the visual perspective, but the adhesive is also going to pull the two together closer as it dries. You can probably see this piece is lower than the others. Not sure what's going on. I think the skirting board is not quite right, but it doesn't really matter. As I said, we're gonna put something, a molding on top and a molding at the front, so that's gonna be hidden. Left hand side of the door is now done. Well, the panels are done. There are still moldings that are gonna go on top, but I'm gonna do moldings once I finish all the panels because I don't need my table saw to cut those pieces, so that's not a problem. I can do that through the night. Well, if it comes to it, right? On that note, let's check how much time we have left. Yeah, it's less than I thought. Look, 24 hours we started with. We have 20 hours, 37 minutes left. I have no idea where did the time go. I've only done this so far. But yeah, I'm gonna do this little piece on my table, so put that in and then we're gonna switch our focus to the right hand side of the door. And of course things are not easy because the walls are not straight. It's nearly 5.5 at the top, so there's 1 centimeter difference between bottom and top, which is really hard to cut on my table saw. I think what I'm gonna do is set my table saw at 5.5 at the bottom, 4.5 at the top. This is the opposite of what's here. And then I'm going to turn the panel around to cut it that way, because otherwise I'm just gonna cut it at 4.5. It's still not gonna be precise at all, but I am hoping with a couple of iterations it should be just fine. We have caulking guys. So this is a piece of cut. It doesn't fit, but only at the bottom. At the top it's fine, absolutely perfect. Up until here I think I need to cut this little tongue, and that should be just about enough to make it fit over here, because as I said, as you can see here, look, at the top it fits just fine. I just didn't cut it enough at the bottom, but I think with a little bit of trimming it should go in nicely.
A few moments later.
Let's see if that worked. This way. Yes, I think that worked perfectly. Look at that. Absolutely perfect fit. Let me show you a bit more closely. Okay, you can see there's a bit of a gap here, but like I'm not entirely sure what else I could do. I caulked that. I am going to caulk that, and we're going to be absolutely beautiful and wonderful. Incy wincy spider went up the water. Spout. Over on this side, it's basically a mirror of what I just did on the left hand side. So there's no reason for you guys to see. Let's see how long this is gonna take me. It's 11 o'clock exactly on the dot. I hope you can see that. It's 11 o'clock on the dot. Oh, 11:01. So let's see how long it takes me to do this side. Go. Done. Look, that looks pretty nice. I think the corner is nice and tidy. Could be better at the top, but again, molding is going to cover that. But everywhere else it seems to be fine. Not sure why I'm having issues at the top, something with my table, so maybe. But everything else seems to be fine. That took me 1 hour and 6 minutes. I think it was 11 o'clock when I started. Now it's 12:06, so that took me 1 hour and 6 minutes. We still have 19 hours and 8 minutes left. I can see the timer right behind you. What I'm going to do is crack on over on this side of the wall. There's a couple of interesting places here. There's this box. Down there is the radiator. I need to make a couple of interesting cuts with my jigsaw. And then we are going to switch over onto that side of this hallway slash mudroom. I have finished the paneling. Do you want to guess what time is it? Wrong. It's 5:45. I'm not joking. You have to remember, you don't see everything. There's loads behind the scenes that just never make the cut into the actual video. But everything takes so long. But I'm glad I'm done at least with the paneling. Hey, the good news or the bad news, whichever way I choose to see it, is I still have 13.5 hours to go. And in those hours, I still need to install all the molding. I need to prime it twice. I need to paint it twice. I need to close all the holes. I need to fill all the holes. What else do I need to do? I need to change a bunch of accessories. I need to assemble some furniture. So there's a lot to do still, but I still have energy. That's good news. We'll see how that goes in a couple of hours. What I think we should start working on now is the moldings, and I've got them right here. There's going to be two kinds of moldings. So this one is like a dish shape, and it's going to go on top and sit right here, and then underneath that goes this one. It's gonna go all the way right there, like this. And that should create a nice filling. I want to feel like a mudroom in more sort of classical old style houses. We'll see if I'm gonna be able to achieve that look, we'll see, but I'm going to try. So we'll start in the opposite order because the camera is already facing this way. I'll start working on the moldings here where I finished the paneling. And the first thing I'm gonna do is cut these two pieces that will go on top right here. And the way to do that is quite simple. All I need is to measure one piece. I need to measure the wall right here, and then I need to make a 45-degree cut over here. Same goes onto the other side, and then underneath the other molding, pretty much exactly the same thing. And I'm going to install them both same way I've been installing paneling. I'm going to use adhesive and then also nails, I think, for the top one right here. Maybe even nails for the bottom one as well, because obviously we have wood now and nails should work, whereas on the drywall they're usually not very effective. So yeah, let's start measuring, cutting, installing, and I will see you in a bit. Let's see if I've got this right. This one is a bit long. This one is pretty good. It's very good actually. So the one over here, it's actually quite a lot longer. What's going on? So I measured 70.5. How much is it actually? It is 70.5, so what's the problem? Let's see again. Oh, it's actually 71. Right, okay. Yeah, I didn't cut it right, so I need to go and trim this by about 0.5 centimeter. And then it should fit perfectly. Let's do that.
A few moments later.
Yeah, this fits perfectly now. And with the other one, they form a nice corner. I think I need to trim it. Well, both of them maybe. Maybe with my rasp, just a little bit inside of the corner, so they can meet a little bit better. Maybe the wall is not straight. Not all of them are 90 degrees. Most of them actually aren't. So I'm gonna get my rasp, trim that a bit, and see if we can get it to sit flush. That's definitely much better. Definitely much better. I think I'll actually install them. It looks pretty good to me. I don't like the way this one sits. I'm going to take it off. Not sure what the problem is. I think I'm gonna cut it just a little bit so I can play with it a little bit more, because now it's really hard to put it into place. Okay, I've shortened it a bit. Let's see if that does anything. Yeah. That's much better. Just feels like it needs something behind it, so it doesn't go in. Just gonna add a tiny bit of piece of wood there. No one is ever gonna see. I think let's nail them. And then I'm gonna add, I should have done that before, but anyway, I'll add some adhesive in here to close this cap. But I think that is pretty good. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna think otherwise, but hey, I'm just doing my best here, and wait until you see the final result. I've cleaned it, so as I told you, now it looks absolutely fine. It's gonna be painted as well. Remember, 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of actual paint. None of this is gonna be visible. I think you get the general idea. Now I have to do the rest of the room, so let me just remind you, because it's been a few minutes. So this is sort of the right hand side of the room. The bathroom is over here, and then as you go to the left, we have to do all of that. We have to do all of that, and we have to do all of that around the entrance as well. So let's get going. I started working on the corner on the left hand side of that bathroom door, but it was much harder than I hoped. Exactly the kind of thing I didn't need in this 24-hour challenge. I messed up. I didn't like this corner, so I decided to fix it with some nails, and I made it even worse. So now I just removed all the small pieces from here and cleaned up all the adhesive because it was getting on my nerves. And I think what I'm gonna do is continue over on that side and come back to this because I have no more patience for this right now. This tiny little corner. I'm getting a bit tired. I've been at it for 12 hours. It's 7:08. 12 more hours to go though. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I just don't need any more mistakes like this. It will cost me a ton of time. Now, this one just cost me half an hour. But hey, that's life. Let's continue over on the other side here, and I'll come back to this when I have a little bit more patience, which I'm not sure if I will have more patience later, but I certainly have no patience right now. So let's continue and then I'll try again later. Some days everything just falls into place. Other days it all feels like an uphill battle. But hey, I wasn't about to give up. This one turned out good. I hope the underneath one also turns out good. And hey, after some sewing, trimming and sanding, it turned out pretty well. However, I was soon facing another issue on the other side of the entrance door. A bit of a problem. Somehow I ended up with this panel being a lot higher than the ones over here. I'm guessing it's a problem with the skirting boards down there, and I didn't notice really before. There's other fluctuations which I can't really explain. I think the skirting boards are not straight or something of that sort. But particularly here, it's a problem because if I'm gonna have my molding over here, then the other one is gonna be way up high. And the only way I can think of dealing with that is using my oscillating tool, which I bought for another video. I never actually used it because I ended up not doing that. Well, not yet anyway. But it's a perfect opportunity to figure out how to use this oscillating tool. So come closer. Let's make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay. And now, problem solved. Look at that. Wow. That's fantastic. I've never used this tool before. Wow, I'm super impressed with that. Nice. I already have the pieces for this corner. Well, I think I do. One on the top, which can go like that. And this one, the little one, is gonna go and sit right in the corner. Oh, now this is great. Look, this is now great. Perfect. No, not perfect, but pretty close, to be honest. I don't think I'm gonna get that much better, so good height. There's still some gaps underneath, but that's fine. The other molding is gonna cover them. There's enough touch points to put a nail through and put the adhesive on to keep this. This is decorative, like it's not gonna hold any weight. It's just there to look pretty. But yeah, that's problem solved. Let's go. It's 8:20. already. I have less than 12 hours to go. I'm way over the half already, which is great news. I suppose I made it this far, but there's still quite a few hours to go. We still have to finish moldings, prime, paint, and other things. So let's do it. Full of excitement from my lovely cat with the oscillating tool, I'm installing the last bits of molding. I later went back to that small corner I left before and finished that too. Sometimes I think I need to invest in a good miter saw, as these cuts are really hard to make while holding the miter box with one hand and cutting with the other. Let me know if you have any recommendations on a small budget. Let's see if I can caulk around this big box. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's a sizable gap at the top and at the bottom. Originally, I was planning to use molding around this box, however, I had run out of molding, and given that this was a 24-hour challenge, I couldn't run to the store to get more, so I decided to caulk it. You will be able to see how this really turned out towards the end of the video. I'm not gonna do any more caulking, that's because I need to get moving with the primer, and if I do caulk in a few other places, then I have to wait hours and hours until that caulk is dry before I can actually prime. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna focus on paint. Well, not paint as such, right? First of all, I need to punch a few nails, and then I need to fill a few holes in the wood. There's a couple on the ceiling, a couple of screw pops as well I need to do. And once I fill them and sand them, then we'll do the primer and then we'll do the painting. And there's also a little bit of wait between coats. Well, it could be an hour actually between coats, but it depends. I'll crank up the heating in this room. We'll see how it goes. But if I do the caulk first, then I'm gonna be here forever. I can finish the room, I can come back to it later on and do the caulk and paint it. It shouldn't be the problem, so I'm not gonna prioritize that for the time being. I only did the box because that one is right in your face once you enter the room. So all of that said, it's nearly 10 o'clock. I'm gonna get going with nail punching and then we'll fill the holes.
One eternity later.
I'm mixing some filler in my kitchen sink, and then I'm back in the hallway to fill a few holes that I made with a nail gun and a few general imperfections in the wood. Unfortunately, as you will see later in the video, I was already tired at this point, and let's just say it affected my vision.
A few moments later.
I think the filler is dry, so I should be able to sand it. Let me get a light grit. Let's do 220. Why not? I'm nearly ready to start priming. So you saw me sand. After that, I used the vacuum cleaner to kind of clean up in here, and I used a damp cloth to wipe all the surfaces. There was a ton of dust. Lesson learned, you can trigger a fire alarm due to the dust when sanding. That is not something you want to find out about at 12 a.m. at night while doing some DIY. But here we are. So what I'm going to do next is use some frog tape to tape around the paneling, and then finally I'm gonna pick a brush and the primer and start priming. Just a couple of months ago, I did not know that frog tape existed, but it's really a lifesaver. At this stage, I don't want to waste time by being precise with my brush. Remember, I have 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of paint to do. So really, this is an investment. It is 1:51 a.m. and I'm ready to start priming. I just finished frog taping everything, and I think I've done a very good job, so I don't have to stop and think that, I messed something up. I can just start priming. First coat I'm gonna do with a brush, just because I want to get the primer everywhere, really, between the panels. But from the second one onwards, I think I'm gonna switch to a roller, because otherwise it's gonna take me ages. 5 hours and 25 minutes to go. Let's finally start putting some paint on the sink.
My car go vroom, my maid got a broom, my house got a room for some rooms with a view. I'm driving real slow like I'm running on fumes. I'm driving real slow like I'm running on fumes. 30 on the dash. Yeah, we riding slow, but that money moving fast. Look at all this cash. Yeah, we riding slow, gotta watch us when we pass. Throw some money in the air like you really don't care, oh yeah. But that money moving fast. Throw some money in the air like you really don't care, oh yeah. We riding slow, gotta watch us when we pass. I just put your mortgage on my neck, and you looking teed off like a golfer, you upset. Why you mad? Why you mad? Tell them why you mad. If you need a tone, you could probably.
While waiting for the primer to dry, just look what's in these boxes. There's a bunch of accessories and some furniture. I might be being way too ambitious here. I only have like 3 hours left. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do it in the 24-hour, but still, let's have a look what's in these boxes. Okay, I think this one is a light. Yep, this one is a light. Nice brass, old house sort of style light. I'm putting this light together just using the opportunity, since I have to wait for the first coat of primer to dry anyway. Nothing special about this light, it's 3 main parts. First is the mounting plate, which is going to be fixed on the ceiling and then immediately covered by the ceiling rose. The middle part of the light is fixed on the rose by a screw in the middle, and then as we move to the bottom, a light bulb is screwed onto the middle part and then enclosed in a glass shade, all of which leaves us with a brass old school light, which will fit perfectly with the new style of this room. Let's see what's next. This is pillow. The pillow that's gonna go on the bench. It's a nice color. I'm into orange lately. You should go and see my kitchen series to understand why. Okay, I think it's gonna get more puffy. The time goes by, but that's nice. What's this stuff? Hooks for the clothes. Nothing we can do with this right now. We gotta finish the paint to install them. What's in here? Oh, it's a key holder. Yeah, it's also very cool, sort of antique looking key holder. I'll go in there. Back in the box. You're not ready yet. No idea what's in here. Oh, it's the shelf. Okay. Interesting. Not exactly how I expected it to be, but still very nice. Nice. I think this will work very nicely with the new color of that room, which you don't know yet. Hopefully we'll get to that very, very soon. just leave this on the side for the time being. There's two in here, but I'm not sure if we will be installing both of them. I think we'll only want one. And this is the bench, or it must be the bench. Definitely needs some assembly. See what's going on here. That's a nice walnut color. Oh, that's beautiful. So for now, let's check this primer. I think we can do a second coat, which you guys do need to see. You will be back for the color reveal. Let's go. It is 5:06 in the morning. We have 2 hours left. We can still do this. It's really tight. I think the primer is finally dry, and I can show you the paint. Look, it's this beautiful color called green marble, or marble green, and it's sort of the cream coral color, kind of like barley, but with green undertones. It's kind of hard to see right now, but once it's on the wall, I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate it a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do right now is use a brush to do the connections between the panels, because I'm not gonna be able to get the paint in with the roller. And once that dries a bit, then I'm gonna grab the big roller and do 2 coats. So let's do this.
1, 2, 3, go!
It is 6:55. Just a few minutes left on our original timer, and I think now it's become apparent that I'm not gonna be able to finish this project in that deadline. It's a shame. I've really tried. I've really tried, but as the time went by, I was just more and more tired. We made a ton of progress though. We installed all this paneling, and we primed it, we painted it, we filled the holes, we've assembled some furniture, some accessories ready to go, and it's not that much left. We need a second coat on this paneling. I think it's gonna need a couple of extra hours. I just finished it a few minutes ago, but it's not quite dry yet. You can just do the second coat just yet. But all it needs is a second coat with a roller, and that should be that. The other paint that I was going to do was actually the exact same paint that is already here, so almond white. I was just gonna refresh that same paint, because I haven't done that since we moved in a couple of years ago. And then it's basically all about installing the accessories. So really, if I had another couple of hours and some energy, I would have done it now. But I think the best course of action is to get some rest and come back and finish it all. In the meantime, you guys have the opportunity to like and subscribe to the video while I'm getting some sleep. And yeah, if this wasn't worth it, I don't know what is, to be honest. I'm gonna go get some rest and I'll be back to finish this mudroom / hallway. And just like that, I had failed. After weeks of preparation and days of playing and replaying the plan in my head, I really thought I was gonna do it. But at the end, I learned that you can only fight your body for so long. And I just couldn't stop myself from getting more and more tired, slower and slower, clumsier and clumsier. Sometimes, no matter what you do, you just can't make that paint dry any faster. However, as we all know in life, not giving up often just means taking a break, stepping back so you can try again tomorrow. I'm back after a good amount of rest, and since I'm not on the clock anymore, I want to take a step back and see what I've missed before. And already I could see there's quite a few things. So there's 3 holes right here, but there's so many more. I'm not entirely sure why I couldn't see them before. Maybe it's because I was tired, or maybe now this green color provides a better contrast so I can actually see them properly. So there's all these holes I would like to get fixed with some filler, but there's also the gaps. I already spoke about this before. I wasn't gonna do them because I was chasing the timeline, but since I failed at that, what I'm gonna do is use my caulk to close some of the gaps between the panels. There's only a couple of places to do. I'm gonna do that and use my brush to kind of smooth the caulking. I've learned this on the internet. I haven't tried it before, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. So once that's done, I'm going to do the second coat on the paneling, and then we're going to refresh the rest of the paint here. And I think the last step is going to be to install all the accessories, all the couple of bits of furniture I've got. So yeah, let's get going with the caulking. I might not have finished this room in 24 hours, but I am going to finish it. First, I'm using caulk, which I have been calling caulking for nearly this whole video, to fill some of the corners that aren't quite as tight as I would like. And I'm filling a gap between 2 panels which seems to have not been slotted into one another correctly. I then use a wood filler to fill all the holes I somehow missed before. And before you ask, yes, I did cover the fire alarm before sanding it all this time around. Once that is done, I'm using my brush to give the moldings a second coat and touch up all the holes I just filled. Then I finally pick up the roller to give the whole of paneling that second coat of paint. Paint is done on the paneling, at least. Now we still have to do 1 coat above, which is going to be exactly the same paint. But before we do that, let's remove the frog tape. Oh no. Yeah, that's not going great. And it really wasn't going great. When I initially used frog tape, I was hoping that all the pieces would stick to each other and come out together, but that didn't happen, so I had to remove it bit by bit too. Once the frog tape was off, I focused on installing the radiator brackets again. I had left a couple of green marks on the skirting board to help me find the right position for them, but of course I had to guesstimate the height, which I did quite successfully. I feel like I'm in that book, My House is a Squash and Squeeze. It was so tight in here with that radiator down, but now I put it back up. I feel like there's so much more space. My house is massive now. So you've seen me paint and paint again. I don't think you need to do that again. So let me paint this top part of this mudroom. As I said, it's just a paint refresh, and then you'll be back so we can install all the hardware together. Let's go. Okay, paint above is now done. I want to replace the light, and I've got it here. I got myself the lamp that goes in and the little connector which you can use to connect with all these cables. All I'm doing here is connecting the 3 cables to each other, namely the neutral, the live and the ground cables. And then I install the mount before tightening the screws on the rows around it. Let's test that. Yeah, good, that works. Check door clearance. Nope. No idea how did my wife measure that one. Anyway, that light will stay on for the time being. Alright, this shelf is gonna go over here, or maybe just above that. So let's put that in, should be easy peasy. Next thing up is this key holder. Just gonna go here. And the last thing I'll show you before the final reveal is these hooks. The room is ready. Oh, not so fast. There's a few things I haven't shown you on purpose. You will see them in the final reveal very, very soon. Some almost final thoughts. It definitely didn't take me 24 hours, right? I tried. And I think at the end of that, I even said if I even had a couple of more hours, I would have finished. No way, I wouldn't have. Like, it's taking me another nearly full day to complete because there was still so much work. There was the second coat, there was the paint, the second tone, the paint above. There was all the accessories, and you know, there was no contingency in the plan. So yeah, it definitely didn't take 24 hours. It was so much more work than I expected overall, but the room turned out fantastic. However, that's only my own opinion. Now it's time for you to see what this room was like and how it's like today. Let's do it. So how did you find that? I hope you liked it. Please leave a comment below. This was the hardest project I've done to date, I think, despite this room being so small. It gave me so much work and that 24-hour stint was just brutal. But I really think the end result was worth all the effort. I think the space is now going to be so much tidier. It's going to be so much nicer to be in here. Because this is the entrance of the house, right? This is the most used room in the house. And that's important to remember. But yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And I'll see you the next time. Take care.